Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the It's Cringe But It's True podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Olivier, and we are back with
Taylor Church.
Taylor Church, everybody. This is his second time on the podcast. You came on like a few months ago.
Yeah, and then we did an episode on my podcast.
Yes,
so
we've been little podcast buddies.
We're just getting comfy, yeah.
And the podcast that Taylor did on my podcast, you guys, is one of my most listened to episodes of all time.
Great.
Just by the way.
Yeah.
So I knew we had to get him back. I have so many more questions for him. And that episode literally got so much hype, tons of DMs saying how awesome it was. It helped me a ton. So I'm so excited to have you back on the mic today.
Yeah.
If you want to go ahead and just quickly introduce yourself for those who aren't familiar with who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Taylor Church. I'm a podcaster. I'm an author. I'm a coach. Talk a lot about relationships, love, mental health. Really, a lot of the same things you're doing.
Yep.
Just I'm male, and that's about it. But we can get into anything else you want.
Yes, we'll get into all of it today. Dating, relationships, breakups, self-love, all the things we want. Taylor's the best. He has the best advice. So I just want to ask you for the first question. What do you feel like is a new perspective that you have from the last time you came on the podcast about dating?
Gosh. I don't know that I've had any drastic changes of thought. I'll tell you something I learned today.
Okay.
That was just really insightful. So I was working with a client of mine that's struggling with opening his heart, right? And whatever pain or breakups or things he's been through in the past was having some trouble, just reopening his heart again and being okay with being out there and loving again. And he told me, he's recently met somebody and nothing serious happened. They're not dating, but he just got excited about her and got excited about dating again. And he's like, man, it's like opening my heart again just opened me to the whole world. And I was like, wow, what a beautiful way to think about it. Like just saying yes to love and saying yes to opening your heart, just for him, just cracked open the whole world. And now he's just happy and he's feeling excited and positive and all these things. And it's not like he got this new girlfriend and is riding off in the sunset. He's just like, I'm opening my heart, and in doing that, I'm feeling that the world is now open to me.
Why do you think we do that? Like close off our hearts in rejection or breakups?
We have convinced ourselves that is easier and safer.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you open your heart, anything can happen. Your heart can get stomped on. It can get destroyed. And so we think, okay, if I just close my heart and take some time for me, or just don't date, or don't be open to relationships, I can't get hurt. But you also can't love, So to me, you're doing basically the same thing.
And I feel like that's how we learn. Like going through hard times just with dating or just in general, right? Like it sucks to say that and admit that we have to do that, but like going through bad dating experiences, nasty breakups, like that teaches you a lot about yourself, what you're looking for, and how to not let that happen again next time, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think is like the biggest mistake you see people making when you are coaching dating?
There's a lot of them, right? There's a lot of mistakes out there. I think a few things people struggle with. People struggle with they get in these relationships because they're lonely. They want validation. They are afraid to be alone. They're desperate to get married, to have children. There's all these reasons they want to be with somebody, but they don't think as much about how good is my partner for me, right? And so a lot of them, they just end up in these really tough relationships. Some of them are toxic. Some of them are just very, just bare minimum effort, bare minimum presence. But they do it because they're like, well, I'd rather this than be alone, And to me, that just makes me sick to my stomach. Like, I'd rather be alone. And in being alone, I'd still be searching, but I'd rather be doing that than be in an unhappy relationship. But a lot of times, if you're so desperate to get into a relationship, you'll find someone, right? You'll find somebody else that's desperate. But then it's harder once you're 6 months in, a year in, then it's harder to leave. And so you ignore red flags, you ignore things that are unhealthy. And yeah, a lot of people do it.
And I feel like the most important thing, at least in my opinion, and goes along kind of with what you're saying, is just having those standards for yourself before dating. Because when you're desperate for love, like you said, you're just going to jump into anything and accept any type of love. It's like that quote, you accept the love you think you deserve. Like, it's so true, because I know, at least for me too, like at times in my life, and I've talked about this before on the pod, but like where I wasn't feeling super secure and confident in myself, I dated guys who didn't treat me very well or weren't the best for me. And then once you like start a relationship with those boundaries for yourself and those guidelines and those standards, then you aren't going to accept all this BS. Like, you know what you're looking for, and you're not going to settle for less than that. What would you tell someone who is in that era of like feeling insecure or kind of settling?
I mean, you got to find a way to view yourself in a higher light. You know, you got to find a way to be like, if I want something great out there, I've got to be patient, and I got to become the kind of person that I want to date, you know? And so for me, I mean, I know my weaknesses and flaws better than anyone. I could list them, and maybe we'll do that at the end of the show. But I also know my value and know my worth. And so if there's any BS in the beginning of a relationship, I'm just done. I'm not putting up with it, because I know I don't deserve that. And, you know, there's a million reasons why people get to that point where they're not sure they deserve any better. But, yeah, you just got to work on your own ability to love yourself. 'Cause if not, yeah, you'll put up with an endless amount of crap.
Do you feel like you've always been that way, or was there like a turning point or point of your life where you like got your heart broken or realized that you need to have those standards for yourself?
I think I've always had pretty good just general self-worth. And part of it is like my parents had a great relationship. I saw how they interacted. And so if I ever was with a girl that was like getting mad at me all the time or yelling or something, I would just I'd be like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not interested. But I think when I was younger, I just didn't have the experience to know what I really needed. I just knew in my head what I wanted. And yeah, just having more experience, going out with more girls, dating more girls, I realized way more, okay, these are maybe some ideals, but these are things that I really, really need. Like, I need to feel seen. I need to feel heard. I need to feel loved. And I don't know, when I was younger, I was just like, I don't know, I want a nice girl that's hot and cool and spiritual, and yeah, that should be good, you know? But I guess I didn't really know what it meant to be cool. Like, to be, I used to say like, yeah, I just want a girl that's chill. Yeah. Like, what does that even mean? But as I dated more, I realized, like, I guess way more adjectives that were important to me, you know, whether it's patience or generosity or exuberance, like earnestness. There's all these things that I didn't even think about before.
In dating now in your life, do you have like super specific things that you're looking for and that you won't settle for less?
Yeah, I got a long list. Yeah. For me, I think I talk about this a lot. The most important thing at the end of the day, there's a bunch of things I want, and there's probably, we talked about this on our first episode, I have like 5 pillars, right? But for me, the number one thing is personality. Like, and that's because so many things go into your personality, but I just want a girl essentially that I just love hanging with, that I just, like, if she wants to do anything, whether it's go to the grocery store or take a trip to Las Vegas or sit and read together or knit sweaters, I'm going to be like, awesome, like, this is my girl. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I used to care more about interests and hobbies and all these different things. And I'm like, what I really just care about is her energy and how we laugh together, how we talk together. And obviously there's big, important pillars, morality and worldview and how you want to raise a family and all these things. But to me, none of that even matters if I don't want to just hang with her all the time. If I don't want to just do nothing forever with her, you know?
Yes. And I loved the 5 pillars that you mentioned on the first episode. I literally have like gone back and listened to the episode to rehear you say that, because I think for me, like I have always had like FOBO, like fear of better option in dating. And this is something I was really wanting to ask you and see your opinion on this. But I feel like in dating today, you know, it's very talked about like don't settle, know exactly what you want. But do you think that there are things like in relationships that aren't ideal with that person, that, you know, like maybe some little idiosyncrasy with that person that you're not like stoked on, but not willing like to break up with them over it? Is there like a line there of like things that are like you're settling for, or that's just who that person is? If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you're never going to find a human that there's nothing about them you don't like, you know? Especially you spend more time with them. Like, think about your best friends or family members that you love to pieces. You also are like, but I freaking hate when they do this, and this is weird that they do, and this is annoying, but you love them so much that you don't really care, right? There's a quote I love that says, when you're in love, you mistake a pimple for a dimple. And to me, it's kind of true. Once you really fall for somebody and start to care about them deeply, they're weird little idiosyncrasies. Maybe they literally cannot take their clothes off and hang them up. They just throw them on the floor. They can't do it. I think if you love them deeply, you start to be like, oh, I don't know, I think it's kind of cute when they do that. It's like, whatever, it's annoying. I usually end up just picking up for them. But I don't know if those other big pillars aren't there. I think those little annoying things just stick out more.
Yeah.
You know, like I could look at the few girls in my life that I truly loved deeply and like probably would have married if a few little things would have happened in my favor. It's not that they couldn't do wrong. Like they were, you know, fallible humans just like anyone. But I don't know. I just thought everything they did was endearing and cute.
Yeah.
And so they kind of couldn't do wrong with me.
And I think I've seen it a lot with me and my friends. Like, it's so common in today's world to just be like, so like get the ick over something, right? And be like, oh, we got to break up. Or like having that FOBO of like, oh, but maybe there's someone better. How do you deal with that? Do you see that a lot in coaching? And what do you tell someone who's struggling with that?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you've dated a decent amount, sometimes the struggle is you can easily take the best parts of every person you've ever gone out with and create a superhuman.
Oh, that's so true.
Right?
Yes.
And that's just not reality. You can't do that, you know? And I think with time I realized, like, there's a girl I dated for a couple years that was by far the smartest girl I've ever dated, like just off the charts. And I loved it. We could talk about anything, and she was like, for all intents and purposes, much smarter than me in a lot of ways. But she wasn't like a smarty pants. She wasn't pedantic. She wasn't pretentious. She was just gracefully ingenious. And I just loved talking to her. And so when we broke up, I thought, this sucks. How am I ever going to find a girl as smart as her? And I don't think I will. But I realized the girl that I dated after her, she was smart. Very smart girl, not nearly as smart as the other girl, but because everything else was so good, the emotional was good, personality was so good, our connection ultimately was deeper than the first girl. I didn't care at all. But if I was too concerned with like, no, I've had a girl this smart, I need a girl this smart. To me, it's more like I need a girl that's smart enough. Yeah. Whatever that is. And same with attraction, right? You can always find someone that maybe you like their hair better. Maybe their eyes are bigger. Maybe, right? Maybe like, maybe you like girls that are 5'10" to 6'1", or you like girls that are 5'1" to 5'4", and that's your ideal. But she has everything else. So I'm like, okay, Are those things really an issue? To me, if you're attracted to them enough and you're really attracted to them, it doesn't matter if like your ex was a 9 and they're an 8.8.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's hard if you have a lot of things to compare to. That's why a lot of people that get married so young and they fall in love so young don't have anything to compare to.
Mm-hmm.
And there are big pros and big cons to that. You know, you're just kind of, when you get married that young, you're just kind of rolling the dice.
Yep.
And sometimes people get lucky. And I do think there's wisdom in getting married young. I'm grateful I didn't, just because I'm not convinced I really knew what I wanted yet, even though I sure thought I did if you asked me back then. But yeah.
I love what you said about like you take the best parts of all the people you dated, because like I've never had it heard explained like that, but that's exactly what I've always felt.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh well, this person had this person had the looks, this person had the emotional intelligence, but you can't like hand create a person to be exactly what you want them to be. And I've found, at least, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, like dating around a lot, and like you said, some people just get lucky, their high school sweetheart is the love of their life. But in my opinion, and just from my experience, dating around a lot and going out with lots of different guys, long periods of dating someone, just short little flings, whatever it was, taught me a lot about myself and about what I wanted in someone.
Yeah.
Because I'll go out with a guy and I'm like, okay, like you were super bubbly and outgoing, but maybe I don't really want someone that's like that. You know what I mean? Maybe I need someone to ground me and who's more like mellow. Do you think it's important for people to date around a lot to know what they want? Or do you think you can just find that out with nothing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can, like I said, I think you can get lucky when you're young. And you can kind of, I think there's some beauty to growing together and figuring out life together. What it requires, I think, is immense humility from both partners, because you're still just learning so much about yourself on the go. And when you're older, you've kind of hopefully done a lot of that work already. And so, yeah, I think there's great benefit from dating around, but it's tough because you also don't want to date around just to date around, right? Like, you want to date with intention. And because here's the tough part about, if you're dating in your mind casually, it's fine. There's no problem with that. But what happens when you meet somebody that you're crazy about? Do you just toss them aside because you want to date around? I don't know. And some people do that. And I've met a lot of people that have had major regrets about people they've tossed aside when they were younger, because they wanted to date around and wanted to experience things. So yeah, it's a bit of a balance. But I do think if you do find yourself single, yeah, go date as many people as you want, and be as picky as you want. And if you don't like somebody, don't go out with them again. It doesn't need to be that complicated.
I think comparison is such a huge thing in dating too, and I kind of wanted to touch on this. It's so easy for all of us to compare ourselves to the millions of people on the internet that we're seeing getting engaged, just about their first house, first baby, whatever it is. And it's so hard for everyone to not be like, oh, well, my relationship sucks, or oh, I've been single and I want to be in this relationship, you know? How do you feel like how you teach, how you coach people on how to not feel behind and how to not compare themselves to other people's timelines?
Yeah, I think a couple thoughts. For me, I try to always remind myself that life in general, whether it's relationship stuff or career stuff, life is just a race with myself. And sometimes it's tough because I'm naturally a competitive person. I played sports, and so even like in podcasting, if I see somebody I know that's doing well, I'm like, oh, I want to do even better, right? And that's fun, and sometimes it can motivate you, but if it starts to bum you out, starts to make you sad, I have to remind myself, hey, this podcast journey I'm on is for me and my listeners, and has nothing to do with anybody else. Like, even like me and you, we have very similar content. You know, you have a bigger following on TikTok. I have a bigger following on Instagram. Yeah. If we wanted, we could get in our heads about it, right? Even though we're approaching it so different. We have different guests, different timelines, so it's not really fair. The same thing with dating and with when you get married or when you get into a relationship or when you have your first kid. It's like no comparisons are fair because you don't have all the context, you don't have all the backstory, and if someone that you're comparing yourself to was in your shoes, they'd probably be single too, right? If you're single, you're probably single for a reason. And if you were in their shoes, you'd probably be married already, but you're not in their shoes.
Yeah.
And so, we hear this all the time. Comparison is the thief of joy. I just try to remind people they need to give themselves a break. And if dating is a priority for you and you haven't prioritized it, that's when you need to look in the mirror and say, okay, well, what can I do to prioritize it, to put myself out there more, maybe get on the apps, for goodness sake, maybe start saying yes, maybe availing myself to more social opportunities. Because what happens a lot with clients I'll be talking to is they'll be talking about how much they want a relationship. And I'll say, okay, how are you meeting people? And they say, I'm not. I say, okay. Are you on the apps? No. Hate the apps. Won't do them. I say, okay, what do you want?
What do you want from me?
Okay, I guess just hope somebody knocks on your door, If something's not working, you have to change, But change is hard.
And I think we kind of associate like having value with being in a relationship in today's day and age.
Yeah.
And I think that can be so toxic because, like we were saying earlier, a lot of people are just jumping into relationships for the sole purpose of being in a relationship and not because they're in love with that person or they really, really like that person. And you said this in the first podcast we did together, but you said, like, look around at all the relationships in your life and how many of those do you truly envy? And I've always thought about that a lot because it's true, right? You're seeing the highlight reels most likely of people's relationships on social media or from them directly seeing them in person. But you don't know what their relationship's like behind the scenes. Like, it's tough being in a relationship. And it's not just unicorns and rainbows all the time. Like, it is a lot of work and there is conflict that happens. So I love how you said that, like, don't just compare yourself to that because you don't really know exactly what's going on in those people's lives,
Yeah, and I like to have couples that to me are kind of goals, but I don't know their whole story. But when I see little things, when I see how affectionate they are with each other, when I see how cute they are, just when you see a couple and they're just in their own world and like they couldn't even hear or see things around them, they're just at dinner and they're just so. And if you're like in a bad mood about being single, you're like, oh, gross, right? But when you're in a good headspace, you're like, oh wow, those guys, they've got something figured out. And they might be horrible at communicating, but they're really good at being present with each other. So I like to just take bits and pieces of the good I see and say, okay, that's goals. That's something I want to emulate. That's something I want in my relationship. And to not idolize or worship couples because I don't know what's going on behind doors.
Less like comparison and more like motivation or inspiration for what you want. Yeah, I think that's...
Same thing with like social media, like I'll see creators that have bigger followings than me and it'd be easy to be like, how do they have bigger following than me? I'm cooler than them. I'm better looking than them. I get better guests than them. My reels slap. Theirs suck. But I'm going to be like, okay, they're big for a reason. Let me see. Maybe they have better thumbnails than me. Maybe they have better aesthetics than me. Maybe they have better choices when they're editing. Yeah, let me try to look for the good.
Totally. I wanted to touch on overthinking in dating.
Never done it.
Me neither, actually.
I have a perfect record.
I feel like this is like one of the biggest things in dating right now. Like for me, friends, tons of people I know, it's so common to overthink. Do they like me? Do I text back? It's been 2 hours. Should I wait? Like, what do you tell people if they're constantly overthinking and spiraling in a relationship?
I try to tell people in the beginning, in the courtship period, what you want to do is you want to pace. You want to match somebody's pace. And You might not like their pace. Maybe they're too slow. If they're too fast, the problem is they're not matching your pace, right? But to me, I know for myself, let's say I go out on a date with the girl and I come home and I'm like, oh my gosh, she needs to be my wife. Like, she was perfect. She's everything I want. And I can't help getting excited, and I start getting into the limerence category, right? For me, I joke around with my friends and I say, the second you like somebody, that's when you're screwed. And so when I start to feel that I really like somebody, I try to just pump the brakes and be like, let me just move forward at whatever pace they're going, and eventually you'll see how much they like you. Like, that's just the truth. It might take longer than you like, but if you're in your head about they're not texting me as much, or they're not initiating, or whatever, either they don't like you that much, or they're just not ready to like you that much. And those are really your only two options. And so to me, my big thing in my life is I try not to stress over things that are out of my control. And I try to always ask myself, what are the controllables? What are the controllables? In this girl that I'm interested in, the controllable for me, in the beginning, it might not be much. It might just be, okay, I can control when I text her next. I can control how present I am on our next date. I can control how sweet I am. I can't control what she thinks, what she feels. Once we're in a relationship, I can control a little bit more, and I can say, hey, how do you feel about this? Or what do you think about this? And we can communicate. But in the beginning, I'm just like, I just assume they don't like me until they've shown me otherwise. You know, like, I'll have a great date, and maybe we even kiss, right? And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But my assumption is, yeah, she liked me enough to kiss me. That's exactly how much she liked me.
Yeah.
And if she continues to show me that she likes me more, that's when I will believe it.
Because I feel like we all sometimes, like, fantasize too much. Like, put this person on a pedestal. Even, like, you go on one date and you're like, okay, like, this is my husband, or, like, this is the one. Like, and then you're just giving all this energy to someone who doesn't really deserve it yet.
Yeah.
And also, I think we should all think highly of ourselves enough to know, like, and you said this before, like, that person's lucky to be able to go out with me or whatever. But also, yeah, I like what you're saying. Just go slow, and, like, don't go 100 miles per hour at the very beginning, because you can't control how they feel about you.
Right.
And we all wish we could, right? Like, I wish I could be like, okay, tell me exactly how you're feeling after this date. Like, because everyone's avoiding rejection, right? Like, everyone's protecting their hearts. And I think that's a huge, like, error that's happening in dating today, is that people are afraid to get rejected, get their heart broken. So no one's, like, putting it all out there and saying how they truly feel. I always live by the rule, like, I will always lay it all out there, how I feel for someone. And if it's not reciprocated, I would rather, like, know that than always wish I had said, like, hey, I like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think it's really important with overthinking to really just be conscious of, like, okay, I can only control how I am feeling.
Right.
So what do I feel for this person? How fun was this first date? Or how fun am I feeling in this relationship, or wherever you're at? You know what I mean? Like, you can't control how that person is feeling for you. So I love that you touched on that.
Yeah, and I also like to not attach meaning to rejection, right? Because if a girl rejects me, it could mean 1,000 different things, right? Like, I'm just going to keep shooting my shot with somebody else. You know, like, the immediate assumption is probably going to be, oh, like, she's not into me. I must not be her type. I must not be good looking enough. I must not be successful enough. I'm too this, I'm too that. But she could just be super into somebody else. Or she could be like, yeah, I don't date guys that are white. Right? Or, like, I literally had a podcast guest the other day, and she's married, attractive woman. She's, like, part Hispanic, and she said that she never ever was interested in white guys.
Wow.
And I was thinking in the moment, I was like, that's so funny, because if she was single, I probably would have hit on her at some point, and she would have rejected me, and I would have been like, dang, like, that sucks. I wonder what my problem is.
Mm-hmm.
But because I doubt she would have been like, sorry, you're white.
Yeah.
But everyone has their preferences.
Interesting, yeah.
And so to assume you know why somebody's rejecting you is just fiction.
And I think a lot of the time when we get rejected, you automatically assume it's from your insecurities. Like you go into your beliefs about yourself, like, oh, am I not like funny enough? Or like, you know what I mean? Like you kind of tap into your own insecurities and project what they're thinking. You know what I mean? You think you know exactly what it is, but it's true. And it's really hard to do in the moment. Like when you just got rejected, it's so hard to be like, you know what? That wasn't about me. Because I like biologically, your brain is just going to automatically be like, okay, boom. Like something's wrong with me. Fight or flight defense mode. Like, what did I do wrong? Kind of replaying every moment of the date or the relationship maybe to find out what it was. But once you like really sit and marinate on the fact that it's has nothing to do with you, there's been plenty of guys that I've ended things with where I'm like, you're a great guy. You're just not my guy.
Right.
And you are going to make some woman very happy one day.
Yeah.
It's just not me.
Yeah.
And I think I take that perspective.
Have thought that about me.
For sure. I think like I've taken that perspective for me and like flipped it. So if I ever get rejected, I'm like, okay, but maybe it's not about me. You know what I mean? And also, if you do get rejected, it's kind of like, well, there's your answer. Because you don't want to be with someone who isn't obsessed with you or isn't like sure about you too. You know, like imagine being in a marriage or long-term relationship and they wake up and they're like, you'll do. Like,
yeah, I'd rather chew glass.
Yeah. Like there's just, I think that's just not a healthy way to live. So just knowing like if they reject you, it's not about you.
Yeah, it feels so deeply personal, but it really has nothing to do with you.
What do you tell people if they come in or wanting coaching about rejections or breakups? I'm guessing that's a lot of people you coach, or is it?
I think a lot of people I meet with are, they're going through heartbreak and they're struggling and they feel like they're drowning and they need some sort of life raft.
How do you deal with people who, I feel like I get a ton of DMs about this, about people like in months, weeks after a breakup when they're just in that really low period, heart ripped out of their chest. And obviously it's very situational. There's so many different instances of a breakup, but what is your like breakup guide?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, we probably need a few hours for that. To me, there's a couple things. I think first, I try to get people to stop beating themselves up, because a lot of times after you're rejected, especially, there's a certain level of shame sometimes. Sometimes it's embarrassment. Sometimes it's just really bad self-talk. And so I try to first focus on that and say, you don't need to feel any shame for being devastated. You don't need to feel shame or embarrassment for crying at work because you thought about your ex. Like, you're just being a human. You're just experiencing pain and grief. And so oftentimes one of the first things I tell people, like, I kind of hear their story and, sometimes they get emotional and I say, well, no wonder you're devastated. Like, this isn't surprising news to me, so feel it, embrace it, be okay that you're not okay. That's kind of step one, and then I try to say, because sometimes the next immediate thought, depending on your stage of life, is, oh, now I got to get back out there. Now I got to date again, and my heart's broken, and I'm a shell of myself, and I have nothing to give, and blah, blah, blah. And I say, listen, you'll get back out there when you're ready. I say, don't put some arbitrary time period on it. Don't say, okay, I'm going to take 3 months and just focus on me. I say, starting right now, be open to simply connection. Maybe it's friendship, maybe it's a date, but it doesn't need to escalate into romance, into a relationship, unless you want it to. And I said, it's always fine to dip your toes back into dating and be like, nope, that's too painful still. I'm going to retreat, and then come back again when you're ready, when you connect with somebody. But you don't want to like add all the stress of like dating when you're just going through a heartbreak, you know?
Totally. And I think it is just so different for every person, right? Like some people are like, all right, I'm not dating for another 2 years after a
Mm-hmm.
really nasty breakup. And some people it helps to get back out there. And I think there's also a very common fear of like, who else is going to love me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no one else out there for me. Like, that was my person. That's it. How do you navigate that or help people navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, we have such recency bias. Like, you could have like five amazing, long lasting relationships, and after each one ends, you'll be like, I'll never find love again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do. And then you do. The heart is a very resilient, tenacious organ that just keeps beating, just keeps going. And so, of course, when you're in the thick of it, you're not going to feel like you're lovable. You're not going to feel like you can love again. And again, the comparison isn't fair. You're often comparing the love you just had with like meeting somebody on Hinge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's not going to be the same
Yes.
that quickly,
So true.
right? But any relationship starts with just meeting somebody, you know? And so, I don't know, I think a big part of getting over a breakup is re-falling in love with yourself and saying, okay, what do I enjoy about life? What are my passions? What are my hobbies? Where are my friends? Like, let me refocus on me. And sometimes people are so devastated from a breakup because that person became their whole world, and all of their happiness was propagated on somebody else, not on their own soul and their own life and their own inner world. And so, you know, a romantic partner should be this amazing addition to your life, and it should be this scoop of ice cream on top of this amazing sundae you've already built, right? But if it's the whole dessert, if it's the entire sundae, then if they leave, yeah, you're going to be destroyed and you're going to think you have nothing else left, you know? But
Totally.
you know, if I lost somebody today, which I'm not dating anybody right now, but if I lost somebody today, I would be so devastated, but I would be so fine, right? Because I'm so secure with myself and my life and the things I've built and my purpose. And so it's just grief. It's just losing somebody and trying to move forward. It's the same thing like I lost my grandma like 10 years ago, right? Really sad, still sad, really hard couple months after that, mourning with my family. But I wasn't destroyed because my whole like purpose and happiness in life wasn't like predicated on my grandma. You know, she was just an amazing part of my life.
And I like to think too, like, God has a plan for all of us. He has a person for all of us. And whether you believe in God or not, I feel like I love living by that because, sometimes I'm like, well, that was my person. Like, how am I ever going to go over this? How am I ever going to find someone better for me? I just think, well, like, God knows exactly who my person is. And He's, testing me right now and putting me through relationships to help me discover myself and what I'm looking for. And knowing that one day I will find the person that is actually meant for me.
Yeah.
Is that kind of your philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, okay, let me tell you about I had this wild prayer one day, right? And I'm very spiritual, very active in my beliefs, but I wouldn't say I do very well with recognizing the voice of God or recognizing spirit like answers to prayers necessarily. I have very strong faith, but I don't know. I don't. I have some friends that I swear God is always just telling them stuff, and I'm like, that's awesome. I don't know what channel you guys are operating on, but for me, it's happened like 3 or 4 times in my life where I've been like, okay, that was God communicating directly to me, telling me something, and I need to listen. And I probably hear it more than I'm giving God credit, right? Sometimes it's just like, was that my brain or was that God? and I don't think my brain is that powerful, but I was in the absolute throes of a breakup and was feeling these things. I was feeling like I lost this person. How could I ever get somebody even close to her? Like, I know I've dated before. I'll date again. I know I'm like a decent catch. I'll be okay. But I'm like, I don't know that I can duplicate this. I don't know that I can find someone this good for me. And that was really depressing, really hard to grapple with. And the prayer that I received in my heart that was an undeniable answer was that God basically said, I've actually got something way better than you've ever imagined waiting for you. And that was such a comfort to me. And it makes sense too, because God cares about my desires and wants me to be happy and wants me to have all the things that I deserve. And so, yeah, he was kind of like telling me, listen, you can be sad about this. You can mourn. You can cry out to me, but you don't need to anymore. Like, because I got you. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean I haven't had some brutal nights, since then, and nights of extreme loneliness and despair and wondering if, okay, I got this great answer to a prayer, but I still haven't met this mystery girl. But I don't know. I just believe that. Mm-hmm. I believe like I'll have everything that I want.
I wanted to circle back to you talking about like how we fixate on the familiarity of a person, mm-hmm. right? And like with the breakup too, you kind of are like, oh, well, I just want to go back to my ex or whatever, mm-hmm. because it's familiar, it's safe, it's easy, and I don't have to go through all those new anxious feelings that you usually go through when dating. Why do you feel like it is so common for people to go back to their exes?
Oh, I mean, it's the same reason we struggle to stop any bad habit. Mm-hmm. It's the same reason why I try to go to the gym 5 days a week and I usually end up going 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. Like, it's because I'm used to going 2 to 3 days. And every once in a while I do 5 and I'm feeling great. Yeah. But my pattern is to go 2 to 3. So that's what's easy. That's what's familiar. I can do that. It's the same thing in relationships, Somebody that you probably shouldn't be with for whatever reason, but that's kind of an option. You can always kind of go back. Yeah, that's a lot easier than saying, all right, let me ask this person to dinner and just hope to the high heavens that they like me, and mm-hmm. then we'll see what happens from there. Like, that doesn't sound like a ton of fun. Maybe it does. But yeah, it's just we're creatures of habit, and we're bad at changing. Mm-hmm. We're really bad at changing. And I believe deeply in change and our ability to, but it is hard. Mm-hmm. Like, when was the last time you made a big, drastic change in your life?
Not very long. Moving out to a new apartment.
Yeah, but that comes with some necessity, probably.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, things that you're not really being pushed to do, to just say, okay, I'm going to change that. I'm going to stop doing that. It's really hard. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, with relationships, usually no one's like, hey, you're not allowed to get back with them.
Yeah.
There's no necessity moving you forward. And so it's easy to be like, well, at least they like me. Mm-hmm. At least they like make me feel safe. At least they care about me. Nobody out here in these streets care about me,
yeah. In your opinion, how do you know when it's time to break up with someone?
Oh, you probably know about a month before you actually do it. Yeah. I don't know. I try to just trust my gut. Like, if there's a reason I keep thinking about the alternative of not being with them, something's probably up, and there's so many reasons. I think that's why I love my pillar system, because I try to go back to those and be like, okay, am I struggling with our emotional connection? Is it a lack of attraction? Mm-hmm. Is it a lack of spiritual compatibility? Is her personality like good but not great. What's lacking? And it's usually pretty traceable back to one of those things. And so if I start to feel, that uncomfortable itch where you're just like, I don't know if I want to get involved anymore. I try to just listen to it and not delay the inevitable, because you're just causing yourself and your partner more pain.
And you're just wasting time, right? Like, you could be out there finding someone, your person, who you are more compatible with, right? I feel like that's such a huge thing people do, is they're just like, well, it's okay, so I'm just gonna like stay in this or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always think too, like, when it's time to break up with someone, if that person's like taking away from your life instead of adding to your life.
Yeah.
Not to say that relationships aren't going to be hard, right? Like, there is going to be conflict. You'll have to overcome hard things together, grow together. But if they are like taking away from your life, and you'll know when that happens, right? Like, in your core when that's happening.
Yeah.
That's, I feel like, when it's time to move on or not be with that person anymore.
A question I like to ask people when they're debating, like, I don't know if it's working, I don't know how much I love them, I don't know if we should stay together or whatever, I'll say, okay, how would you respond if your partner said, hey, so I have to move to Russia?
Oh, yeah.
Would that be devastating? Or would you be like, would there be a little bit of relief?
That's so valid.
Right? Would you be like, this is a great excuse because I can't move to Russia?
Yeah.
Right? Or would you think, I guess I'm going to Russia?
That's true. That's actually a great way to think about it. I think it also can be like, some people-pleasing tendencies can come out of like, oh, I don't want to hurt this person. I don't want this person to be mad at me.
You're hurting them.
Yeah. And see, I think that can tie a lot of people up, right? Like, oh, maybe this person's struggling mentally, and you know that, and you don't want to make it worse by ending things with them, but also, like, you are hurting them no matter what, right? And you have to do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And it's not selfish to do that. It's
selfish to stay.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah. It's definitely more selfish to stay in the relationship where that person doesn't deserve to be in it either, because you're not fully in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk more about like being single. What things do you think people can do to genuinely enjoy being single instead of just waiting for a relationship?
Man, this is the same question as how do you enjoy life, right? I think enjoying life is an art, and if you're not good at it, you got to figure it out. You got to take some art classes, right? And so for me, I try to enjoy just about everything that I do. I try to, if I have to drive somewhere and it's an hour away, I'm like, sweet, I get to catch up on podcasts, I get to listen to music, I get to call friends. And so I like savor those moments, and savoring life is a big thing for me. And so whether you're single or maybe you're married, but you just want a child so bad and that's the next thing you want. Okay, how do you enjoy life when you don't have a child yet as a married couple? It's just, all of these are the same questions. The question is, how do you enjoy life? And so to me, I try to find joy in everything. I find joy in my meals. I find joy in art, in reading, in my hobbies, and playing golf and playing basketball, and my friendships. And I think relationships for me are such an essential part of my joy. And so I have to cultivate them. I have to work on them. And whether it's friendships or my siblings or my parents, I'm always trying to be closer with the people that I love. And in my estimation, I'm like, that's only going to make me a better partner, because I'm obsessed with improving and bettering my friendships and my relationships. And so, yeah, that can be your focus. If you're having trouble being happy being single, the reality is you're putting all the weight of your happiness on finding a partner, right? And so you need to get better at just experiencing joy.
And just being present in exactly where you're at in life, because you're always probably chasing something that you don't have, the next step, the next being engaged, being married, having a kid, having a family, getting a career, whatever it is. We're always looking and comparing and looking for our next step. But I think like being present and being single and enjoying that time with yourself, and like you said, like that is like gonna help your future relationship one day. The person you are turning into and becoming in your single years is setting you up for success in your relationship, right?
Yeah. And there's so many things that are just easier to do when you're single than when you have a partner, whether it's traveling or just experiencing certain things. And, you know, I have a lot of married friends that are like, oh man, you're lucky. You get to do this and get to do that. And I'm like, yes and no. I'm going to take advantage of being single and I'm going to, you know, do things that would probably be tougher if I was married or had kids, right? But also when I get married, I'm going to be like, dude, I'm good. I've had all the fun in the world. I've traveled, I've seen the world. I've done all those things. And so I don't have an itch for that anymore. And of course I want to do them with my partner, but yeah, I'm grateful for all my single years.
It's just almost like a tiny little mindset shift of like, ugh, I'm single, I'm such a loser. All my friends have boyfriends or girlfriends, whatever. And just being like, wait, this is great that I get to be single. Like, I've loved all my single years. You know, I feel like the most growth I've ever had in my life has been in my single years, right? And like you said, just getting to experience things that you couldn't do when in a relationship. And maybe your relationship isn't all that great. All those people you're comparing yourself to, like, maybe their relationships aren't all that great. Maybe they're wishing they were single and had the freedom to do whatever they want, you know? Like, you always want what you don't have, in a sense, too. So I think just being where your feet are and enjoying every phase and chapter of life that you have, because you're never going to get that back either, right? Like, once you're married, that's it, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, so much of our misery in life is unmet expectations, right? You're expecting that you have a partner by age 25, or you're expecting to be married, or you're expecting to have a child. And to me, I'm going to hope for all these things, but if I never get married, if I never have children, if I never buy my own home, whatever, I'm gonna find a way to be happy, because life is too long to continually look for reasons to be unhappy. And so I hope I get all those things, and I really think that I will, and I pray that I will. But I've got to find a way to be happy under any circumstance. You know, like if my whole family dies in a plane accident tomorrow, like obviously it's going to flip my life upside down. I'm going to be devastated, probably go into a dark hole for a bit. But I've got to find a way to rebuild, and I've got to find a way to be happy again. And I can still hold that sadness in my heart for the rest of my life. But, yeah, I just, you know, sometimes I'll talk to people that are single, you know, in their 50s or 60s. And I'm like, that sucks. That wasn't the life that you thought you would have. But you just don't have a lot of options. You can either decide to accept it and find joy in your life and keep looking, or you can just be like, yeah, my life was a failure and I'm miserable. I don't know which one sounds better.
Totally. Okay, let's end with some rapid fire questions. You ready?
Hit me.
What is your biggest dating turnoff?
This is very rapid. I'm not good at rapid. Biggest dating turnoff, when they only talk about themselves and can't seem to hear anything you say.
Fire. Love that. Biggest green flag?
Green flag, playfulness.
Best first date idea?
A long walk at sunset, preferably with food at some point.
Love that.
Sound it out.
Well, I'm skipping over a few. Should you text first, yes or no?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life's too short.
Yeah. Text first, text second. Who cares? Don't always text first. you know?
Yeah.
Don't always be like, I'm going to text second. Just do what you want to do.
Yeah. What is one piece of dating advice you think everybody needs to hear?
People should bring up things that bother them immediately and resolve them as quick as possible. And I wouldn't say this on like a first date, right?
Yeah.
Not like, hey,
No, so true.
didn't love the way you licked your fork, right? But once you're in a relationship and you're committed, when something bothers you or something's upsetting, even if it's stupid or you're like, maybe I don't have a right to even be bugged by this, you bring it up and you get it out there in the open. I know if something's bothering you and you don't bring it up, it's just going to sit in your gut and you're going to think about it and you're going to get resentful or you're going to get pissy about something really small and it was not really going to be about that, right? And so here's what I don't like. I don't like if somebody is bothered by something and they're immediately accusatory and contentious about it. But if you want to bring up something in a peaceful way,
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Let's do that 1,000 times a day if we need to. And also, if you do that really, really frequently in the beginning stage, you probably don't need to do it for the rest of your life, right? Because you'll start to learn what bothers each other, and you'll stop doing it, you know?
Love that. Okay, Taylor, thanks so much for coming on.
Of course.
You're the freaking best. Everyone go listen to our first episode if you haven't yet.
Yes.
It's a good one, and we kind of hinted to a lot of things that we were talking about in that episode. So go listen to that. Where can they follow you? Listen to your podcast.
Where can they follow me in person?
Yep. You want to stop?
Here's my address. We'll put it in the show notes. It's just Taylor Church 44 on TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Podcast is of Stone and Clay, and yeah, would love to see you there. You know.
Yep. And we'll have them on again, you guys.
Yeah, I'll be back.
You guys love them.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for coming on. You're the best.
Of course.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye guys. Love you.